So what we're going to be talking about here today, we're going to be talking about first things first. We're going to define the difference between crash and recession. Okay, because those are actually different things, even though they get used interchangeably, which is really obnoxious. So people and or media will just use it as whatever best fits them. Okay, so we're going to make sure to go over the difference between those. That way you actually understand where you stand and how you can operate within it.
Welcome to the Kingdom Podcast. My name's Todd Fleming. I'll be your host alongside Jordan Payne. Our mission is to end financial suffering. So whether you've been following us for a while or this is your first time visiting us, you've made a great decision.
We have myself tonight. We have Jordan tonight. It's noon. I'm used to doing this at night. We have myself. We have Jordan here with you. So we'll be able to answer some questions. Good to see some familiar faces in the chat. That's awesome to see. And then we'll be taking it from there. Again, I'm going to share some case studies, some specific examples of what we've dealt with recently. And then we'll kind of take it from there. So I'm going to get this thing going. Hopefully give me a thumbs up, assuming you guys can see everything okay. Yeah, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. All good, all good, all good. Still here? Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right. So what we're going to be going over here is how we operate through crashes and recessions. Okay. So in the next 30 minutes, we're going to be defining the times we are in. Okay. So we're going to build some awareness around that. That way people have a little bit more understanding of what is actually happening versus maybe what the public or the media is telling you. Okay. What I'm not doing is I'm not going to sit here and go, hey, you can only make money during a downtime, because that's just not the case. We subscribe to the mindset and ideology that you can build, grow, scale, and start real estate business at absolutely any time if you practice the proper principles. Okay, so whether it's up, down, left, right, or Willy Wonka's elevator is the current marketplace, and you have no idea where it's going, you're going to be able to make money because we have the ability to teach you the proper principles to follow. Okay, so we're going to go over some real life stories of what we're doing and why. So it'll have some numbers attached to it too, so you'll get a real idea of what the scale of it can look like. We're going to go over crash strategy, like specific actual, like, hey, how to approach something like this. And then we're going to talk about grabbing your next comma, which is really exciting, because in times like this, when value's at a discount, you have the ability to grab your next zero or your next comma. We made the joke earlier, your next decimal point, whatever it may be, far quicker than you could ever imagine, because you're doing things properly while everybody else is running the opposite direction. Okay. So what is a crash versus a recession? First of all, a crash is swift, quick, painful, scary, downfall fueled by emotion and uncertainty. So maybe you have experienced this in the past 24 months, possibly. Okay, so the most recent example is obviously the pandemic. So if you look at March especially if you look in the specific markets, if you look at GDP, if you look at economic growth, if you look between March 2020 and June or July of 2020, everything was how far down, right? Everything dipped 30%, 40%. Everybody had no idea what was going on. They didn't know the extent of everything. They didn't know what was going to happen. Obviously, none of us have lived through, because last pandemic was 1918, the Spanish flu, 1918, right? So we probably weren't alive then. We probably weren't dealing with it. And if we were dealing with it, we weren't dealing with it with any sort of mental capacity that we could understand. So due to that uncertainty, people don't know what's going to happen, a bunch of fear flows into the market. And at the same exact time, if you aren't controlled by your emotions, a bunch of opportunity flows in at the exact same time, which I'm going to go over a specific example, which I nailed down in March of 2020. The third week of March of 2020 is when we located, one of our best deals, which we actually happen to live in today. It's actually our personal home, but I'll be able to go over how much equity we grabbed and everything and what feels like overnight. So this is usually fueled by an outside factor as well. Again, most recent example being the pandemic. So that's a crash. Crash, you usually have, 2 or 3 months of downtime, and then you have a quick upswing, right? Everything recovers to new highs, which we saw in 2020 once we realized that, hey, we're all going to be okay. Recession. So what's the difference between crash and recession? Recession is 2 full quarters of negative growth, prolonged economy struggles, and slower recovery. So what does that mean? So the economy's growth is measured, right? So many of you probably heard of GDP, gross domestic product, is the measure of the worth of the economy, right? It's the actual scale of it, okay? So once there's 2 negative quarters in succession, we are considered to be in a recession, okay? So whether they're going to announce that this time, right when it occurs, good question, because there's a lot of political stuff going on right now. Midterms are coming up. So we'll see who wants to actually announce that we're in a recession, like, hey, vote for me. So we'll see how that goes. But overall, long story short, understand that a recession is longer. It can be just as painful as a crash, obviously, but it's more drawn out. And then honestly, there's more patterns to it. And there's more cycles to it. You can study the cycles of it. So typically you're going to see 12 to 24 month, 12 to 36 month even downturn where things are below their normal average price. And then you're going to start to see the swing back up. And there's a million different factors that can go into this. Recessions can be healthy. Actually, corrections can be healthy, especially when things get overinflated. Some people might be thinking about real estate right now or rental rates right now. Some of these things are actually healthy to have corrections and bring back down. Latest example of an actual recession is the 08-09 debt crisis. Notice I'm not calling it a real estate crisis because it really wasn't. It was really a mortgage and debt crisis due to large banks packaging bad loans together and selling them as good loans. Obviously, that doesn't make sense. So that's why we had our recession. That was really the trigger because it was a debt crisis. So I want you guys to think about when there is downturns, swings, crashes, recessions, call it what you wish, no matter what we're in, it can even be on a weekly basis. I want you to think of, where does opportunity wait? Think to yourself, if you've ever done deals, where does opportunity typically lie for you? Okay. It lies on the opposite side of the general public's opinion, always. It's behind action through rising above fear. Our level of success is in direct correlation to our ability to rise above fear on a daily basis. Okay. That is where our opportunity is going to lie. It's going to lie through understanding cycles, human nature, and financial literacy. Okay. So a quick, down and dirty, simple, very easy example is if at any point I pull up to you in a Ferrari and I go, you can buy this Ferrari for 10 grand, I need 10 grand. 100% of you will come up with 10 grand no matter what, even if you don't have 10 grand to your name, right? Because you understand the difference between what the value is and what the price is at. Okay? So that's a very, very simple one. So that's understanding financial literacy. Understanding true value is an example that I have there. A big one here is opportunity waits on the other side of commitment. People who do not commit, people who do not make the decision for change, people who do not make the decision to truly build something of value within themselves and commit to themselves, they will typically stay in the same spot and have diminishing returns over time. So even if they stay the same, they're actually getting worse, especially with inflation, job loss, economy, you name it. You're at the mercy of everything at that point. I think you guys can agree with that. So the biggest thing we want to do is we want to attack value at a discount. So I want to go over a couple of examples that I have for you. And these are perfect. These are personal examples. These are real life examples that we've gone through over the past, say, 24 months, almost 24 months to the date, actually. So real life case study number one is my example of capturing $500,000 in the matter of a month. So we had $500,000 equity month by just making the proper decision at the right time and recognizing true value. This is really the example of recognizing true value. So the date was March of 2020. Obviously, we know what happened the first week of March of 2020. Everybody went into lockdown. The opportunity is our personal home, and the leverage was huge fear in the marketplace due to pandemic and lockdown. Okay. So if you guys think back, maybe you weren't even in real estate, maybe you're not in real estate yet, and you want to get into it. So basically what happened in March of 2020 in the real estate world, people took their listings off the market because they thought if somebody walked through the house, like they're at huge risk. The buyer pool absolutely dried up. There was absolutely nobody walking around looking at houses. I mean, everything just went dead stagnant. Okay. So what happens when the buyer pool dries up? When the buyer pool dries up, the seller does what? They do a couple different things. One, sometimes they panic because they really, really need to sell, so they'll lower the price. And other times, if the house isn't a burden to them, or if it isn't a huge deal, they will either let it sit or they will lower the price because they don't need it anyways. They're just looking to get the deal done, right? So no matter what situation that is, you now have an opportunity to understand when buyers leave, I have more leverage with sellers. How can I find big value at a discount? It only takes one or two deals to change your life if you understand that you're looking for true value at a discount. So my leverage here, again, was a huge fear in the marketplace due to the pandemic and lockdown. So all the buyers left. So all the buyers left market due to fear. And what ended up happening is we ended up purchasing this property for 1.175 million, and it's valued at 1.6. So the day it appraised, we end up having $500,000 put into our pocket. We were paid to buy our house because we understand that, hey, when buyers leave, when situations like this happen, when fear creeps in, I want to go be the pillar somewhere. I want to go find where I can be the pillar. Where can I find true value at a discount? Where is the car 40% off? Where is the house 60% off? Where is the watch 20% off? Where is something happening that someone's going to make an emotional decision because A, they need to, or B, they can't possibly stay within the state that they are in right now due to the emotions around them, the people around them, and the market around them. That's huge opportunity, understanding value at a discount. So that's the first example. So that's $500,000 grabbed in a matter of one deal. So the next deal I'm going to go over is how we grabbed over $1 million in profit in one transaction. Okay. So real life case study number 2 is a commercial building that we have. It's earning over $1 million in a single transaction. And the opportunity is a specialized commercial space. Now, this also translates back to pandemic. So what happened in 2020 is not only did the buyer pool dry up for, residential for literally a matter of a few weeks. It was only a few weeks. Like if you didn't strike in that few weeks, everything was right back up. We were already under contract. I think by the time that we closed, because it took like 90 days to close or whatever, because everything else was so slow. I think by the time it had closed, everything else was already reopened and back up in a matter of 90 days. So to give you an idea of how tight that window can be sometimes, like you just have to be ready. You have to be prepared. And we're going to go over the importance of preparedness here soon. But so with this deal, specialized commercial space in 2020, what did everybody do? Everybody started working just like this. Everybody started doing their jobs from Zoom, right? So Zoom blows up to a $50 billion valued company or whatever it is. And nobody's going into their retail space anymore. No one's going into their office space anymore. So a lot of landlords and a lot of companies ended up dropping their space. All right. So what if you have an influx of sellers and a lower amount of buyers? What happens? And your prices come back down. Okay. That's simple supply and demand. It's simple economics right there. So due to this, my leverage was fear in the marketplace due to the pandemic again, and office space not coming back due to people being used to working from home and businesses not requiring people to come into an office. So a lot of people literally thought, oh, retail space or commercial space will never come back. So a lack of the confident buyers in the marketplace with beliefs based in everything's overpriced. Okay. How many times have you heard that? There's no deals around. How many times have you heard that? And I don't think commercial real estate will ever recover. I can't even count how many times I was told that, especially when I started contracting, like really focusing on commercial real estate. Everybody thought like that was the most dumb decision that we've ever had in our lives. Okay. Turns out it wasn't, because we're focused on true value. We're focused on true value and opportunity. So the result of this, I know I have to be a little bit vague with this one because there's NDAs and things like that with this one. So I can't give you too much information, but I can give you the basic general overview of what ended up happening. So result, purchase price is $1 million. It's valued at 1.5 million day one. So we grabbed $500,000 in equity day one. Okay. That's 50% of the value of the building. That's 50%. That is essentially 50% off. Okay. By just understanding cycles and human nature. So we leased it for just under 9 years at date of closing, resulting in net bottom line profit of over $1 million in a single transaction. So in these two case studies alone, we've been able to capture over $1.5 million that we have the ability to put into our pocket. And the only thing we really practiced was we're going to go the opposite direction of the general public. We're going to understand that we're going to do our own research and base our decisions off of our research, not someone else's. And we're going to understand that people are fearful right now. And when people are fearful, they make different decisions, whether it be good or bad for them. So we have the ability to put the emotions aside. If we have any sort of emotional intelligence and awareness, we have the ability to look at a situation and go, how can this work best for each party involved? They get rid of their pain. We have the ability to profit over time. It's a great win for the business. It's a win for the employees. It's a win for the contractors. It's a win for the seller. It's a win for the title company. Win for everybody involved. So what we've really been talking about here in a little further depth with the case studies, obviously, is our actual recession strategy. So this is what it actually looks like if you break it down and actually put it on a spreadsheet and put it on a piece of paper, is we are understanding that I'm talking to you guys now, you guys are the value. And my job loss example here is if you look around you, let's say you're at a job, if you look around you and there's 14 other people with your position, what do you have? I bet you're not operating in your gift. I know that. You're not operating in a skill set that is rare to find or difficult to find because there's 14 others around you right now. So if you happen to have that job loss, right, you feel like you've lost everything, you have to go restart. The business or the company does not. The big piece in understanding that you are the value is that you have a growth mindset. You have the ability to adopt a growth mindset. You have the ability to learn new skill sets and operate in different ways. That way you can start operating in your gift. And your gift is recession proof. So if you think about a doctor, if you think about a high-end doctor, if you think about a brain surgeon, right? Let's just use a brain surgeon as an extreme example right now. If the brain surgeon leaves the hospital, who is in pain? It's not the brain surgeon, it's the hospital. Okay? That's because that person understands their gift, they understand their skill sets. They are the actual job, they are the actual skill, they are the value. You have the ability to become that value in understanding your skill sets and that you have the growth mindset, that you have the ability to build new skills that create actual value, okay? So committing to yourself, your own research, and surrounding yourself with the right people. The right people is the big deal here. If you continue to stay around the same people that you've always been around, you will continue to stay the same. I know this is painful. I know it's scary, all those things that we just talked about, but you have to understand that those people, right? You gotta drop the negative friends. You gotta drop the friend that is talking behind the back. You gotta drop the communication with so-and-so who's not looking to go to the next level. Those people, I want you to look around, are not on this call. They didn't register for this call. This call didn't even cost you anything either. They wouldn't get on a call like this. They would go, why would you listen to that? Right? They're going back to CNN, they're going back to CNBC, whatever it may be, whatever their source, whatever their normal source they want it to be, they want to go back to their, all right? So committing to yourself is huge. Now, this might seem a little odd to put a recession strategy and have the first two start with you and how you think, but really everything about your results has to do with how you think. So this is literally what we start our days with, okay? Me and the entire team. So you want to attack what is currently considered dead or undervalued. So I want you to think about that for a minute. What around you, right, seems dead or undervalued? Not cars. We all know used cars are through the roof right now. Not gas and oil. What seems undervalued? So a lot of people would yell at me for always talking about being preparedness with cash, which I'm going to go into because I have this example down here at the bottom, which I think you should be practicing. This is literally part of our strategy, right? They're like, oh, it's going to, last 8 to 10%. Maybe it's undervalued. I know it's not technically backed by anything, but it's backed by an army. It's backed by history. It's backed by the government. It's backed by politicians. It's backed by politics. So the backing isn't gold or something tangible like we would want it to be, but we have the ability to have the skill set to put that thing into something that is backed by something tangible, such as a building, such as a car, such as a watch, such as anything with value, right? So I'd rather lose 8% than 70% in recession or crash times, right? So I like to be liquid during these times. That way we can opportunistically attack items that are undervalued, such as the commercial buildings, such as retail space, such as office space. So when everyone says run, you do the opposite. You stay put. I know we've all heard the term "the time to buy is when blood runs in the streets." We've all heard those lines and those strategies and everything, but it's true. If you do the opposite of the general public, if I see myself moving in the way of the general public, it usually allows me to stop and look around and go, am I operating in fear? Am I operating emotionally right now? So doing the opposite of the general public on a daily basis. Build cash reserves and understand healthy equity plays. So that's for all my cash is trash haters. Build cash reserves and understand healthy equity plays. So what does that mean? If you're used to having $5,000 in the bank, get 20 in there. If you're used to having 20, get 50 in there. If you're used to having 50, get 100 in there. If you're used to having 100 in there, get 500 in there. Because you're going to have the ability to capitalize on new opportunities that things are at a discount, because a lot of people are over leveraged. And there's a lot of situations here. Now, I'm not saying that real estate prices are going to tank and I got this crystal ball. I actually don't necessarily think that, to be honest with you. But what is going to happen, what I am confident in, is that people that are related to real estate are going to have problems. They're going to have more problems, which is going to create opportunity for you because you have the ability to solve those problems with the transaction of real estate. Now you're able to capture something at a discount. Anybody over leveraged right now practicing, the popular BRRRR method, the BRRRR method, however many R's are in there, right? It is dependent upon being able to get a refi at the end. What if they can't get the refi? To tell you a quick story of a real situation, there was a closing the other day. One of our mentors was funding it for one of his clients. It wasn't somebody in the community, one of his clients. And at the closing table, the bank sent an email, says, hey, all funds are frozen until further notice, because they're emotional. Now, if the banks are willing to freeze and stop closings, okay, people are dependent upon these things. Who's really hurt by this? Is it the buyer? Yeah, maybe a little bit. They're annoyed. Like, they obviously wanted this property. That's why they're getting a loan to buy it. Like, maybe it's a big profit value. The one who's truly hurt here is the seller. The seller obviously needed to sell, and now they don't get to sell because of a bank decision. Right? So some of the things that you can expect coming up here, especially in a recession times, are bank relationships and lending. Customer service is going to go out the window. Gone. See ya. You are now a number. You're not a real person anymore. Okay. The second thing that you're going to see happen is you're going to see lending tighten up. We've already seen big rate hikes, right? So what you're going to see is you're going to see lending dry up in volumes. So what that means is there's going to be less people going to get loans because less people are becoming qualified. The person who used to be qualified for a $500K home is only qualified for a $250 home. And if they're already in a $350 home, they're just not going to buy now. Okay. Or those people who need to be, or sellers who need to buy, now become renters. Okay. So there's less lending that's going to happen. So what's going to happen is the banks are going to have to create their margins through their higher end clientele. So you could see last second rate and term changes. You could see rate hike increases right before closings, things like that. That has happened very recently. I could tell you all about that. So that's the second thing you're going to see happen. Third thing you're going to see happen is you're going to see larger banks acquire smaller banks. And the reason for this is because it's going to be due to the volume, right? And volume, the pool drying up. It is easier for a larger bank to acquire high-end clientele by forcing inorganic growth through purchasing smaller banks who already have the high-end clientele. Does that make sense? If you have a larger bank, they have the ability to buy a smaller bank, they acquire their high-end clientele, therefore they increase their margins through an inorganic purchase process. So last but not least, I have in here, throw away the thought of timing these plays and prepare early. Early adopters and add commas to their net worth in half the time. There is no way to say, hey, this is happening in 24 days. Hey, this is happening in 35 days. Hey, this is happening in 6 months. What you need to do is you need to have a constant preparedness for it. Now, already you're doing something right because you're on this call. So I want you to think about that. If we would have had this call 6 months ago, nobody would have showed up. Not a single one of you would have been here because you're like, it's not a recession. There's no thought of a recession. Look at the economy. It's insane right now. Record highs every single day. Bitcoin through the roof. All the cryptos up through the roof. Everything through the roof. Values through the roof. Real estate through the roof. Everything through the roof. I would have said recession or crash. You've been like, what's the point? Thought it would waste of time. So clearly there is something that's been shifted here that hundreds of people registered for this, right? That are going to now see this and be able to apply this. So I want you to recognize that being prepared early is the most important thing here, and making that a new principle for you. That way, when opportunity does come to you, you have the ability to capitalize on it. And you're not looking around going, man, I wish. Because I'm sure we've all had those moments. Oh, I wish I was ready for that, this or that. So let's grab your next comma. I want you to get the right information from people practicing at a high level on a daily basis. There's a reason we put a community together for this. There's a reason that we have people like the Troy Fullwoods and William Bonnells. If you've never heard of them, I mean, just, I don't know. You know what 20,000 transactions look like? You know what $100 million net worth look like? Things like that. Don't listen to markets, general public, the negative friend base that is plagued by victimhood. So what we do is we help people every single day accomplish new goals and financial milestones they never originally thought possible. That is our purpose. That is what we do on a daily basis. But what it starts with is it starts with a commitment and decision to change. And if you wait, the market and opportunities will not. So just like we were just talking about, be prepared early. Don't be waiting. Don't be thinking like, oh, once this does this, I'll be able to do this. No, you have to be ready and willing and waiting for that opportunity to be available to you. And it's also funny how things work, because when you do that, what ends up happening is all the opportunity comes to you because you are prepared. The ultimate show of faith is preparedness. It's preparing. Because why else would you prepare if you didn't have faith in it happening? So with that being said, I want to work next to you guys. So that is what we do on a daily basis. So if you guys want to learn more, if you guys want to join the community, I know some of you guys are already a part of the community on this call. If you guys have questions about Axiom or Ascension, if you've never heard of it, I want you guys to book a call with us, and we'll be able to see how we can possibly help you grab your next comma or become prepared for situations like this. That way we can grow together. That way the community grows. That way you guys grow, and you guys can start reaching some of the goals that you've set for yourself. If you guys have questions, you guys can hit admin@thekingdomrealestate.com. And also we have some links in the chat, so you guys can check the chat now. You guys can have the ability to book a call. And when you book the call, you'll get myself, Jordan, or one of our, we have one team member set up for it as well, due to the volume of it. So you'll get one of the three of us. So if you guys have questions, if you guys are looking to move forward, we are here to help. And that is the Calendly link that Jordan just put in for everybody. Zach Owens' life. Zach Owens just got, and we also help fund deals, which is exciting. Zach Owens just got their first rental, which is awesome. I'm super happy for you guys. You guys doing a bang up job with Gracie and everything. That's amazing to see. So that's what I got. Was there any questions that we had in the chat? Let me run through it really quick to make sure if any.
No, man, people were locked in. They were focused in.
Perfect. That works. Well, I want to thank you guys for hanging out. Okay. Thanks for spending some time with us. We're going to be doing more of these as well, which I'm excited about. We're going to be doing different topics. I think we're going to try to stick with this every Tuesday. Again, these are going to be free, and you'll be able to get a little of an idea of what we do every single day. We hold calls like this every Tuesday and Thursday night for our program, so you guys are able to hop on and do live calls, one-on-ones and everything just like this. So if you have a question, you're able to ask Jordan, you're able to ask me, you're able to ask, guys that have done hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions and get the exact answers that you need. That way you can start moving forward and hit some of the goals that you guys have set. So with that being said, if you guys have any more questions, again, use the Calendly link in the chat. You guys can book a call there. We'll also send you an email with that link as well, so you guys can book a call. And then if you have questions, make sure to email admin@thekingdomrealestate.com, and we'll go from there. Appreciate you guys hanging out, and we'll see you next week.
If you liked what you just heard, great. We would love to chat with you more and to see if you're a great fit for our community. You can do that by emailing us at admin@thekingdomrealestate.com, or you can check the description below to book a call with us. Have a day.